The blood was everywhere. On my hands. On his uniform, pooling on the cold concrete under the bridge lights. The cop looked up at me with dying eyes and whispered 6 words that would destroy my entire life. They set me up. Don't trust them. Hit like, subscribe for more betrayal stories, and comment your city or country. Let me take you back to how this nightmare started. My name is Mason, and I'm a single dad trying to raise my 8-year-old daughter Harper in a quiet town outside Pittsburgh. Life wasn't supposed to be complicated anymore. I did my time in the Marines, served 2 tours, came home, got married, had a beautiful baby girl. Then cancer took my wife 3 years ago, and it's been just me and Harper ever since. I work construction during the day, make decent money, keep my head down. Harper goes to school, plays soccer, loves drawing pictures of horses. We have our routine. Breakfast at 7, school drop-off at 8. I pick her up at 3:30, homework before dinner, bedtime stories every night. Simple. Safe. Exactly what I wanted after years of chaos overseas. That Tuesday night in late September, I was driving home from a job site around 11. I'd been working overtime on a commercial project, needed the extra cash for Harper's upcoming birthday. The route home takes me over the old Riverside Bridge, the one they keep saying they'll fix but never do. It's dark out there, no streetlights for half a mile, just the bridge and the river below. I almost didn't see him. My headlights caught something on the side of the bridge. At first, I thought it was trash or maybe a dead animal. But as I got closer, I saw the reflective strips on what looked like a uniform. I slowed down, pulled over about 20 feet away, left my hazards on. My Marine training kicked in before my brain caught up. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and approached carefully. That's when I saw him clearly. A police officer, maybe mid-30s, face down on the concrete walkway. His head was bleeding bad, blood coming from somewhere under his hairline. His right arm was twisted at a wrong angle. "Hey," I called out, jogging toward him. "Can you hear me?" He groaned. Still alive. I knelt down beside him, checked for a pulse. It was there but weak. His breathing was shallow. I could see bruises forming on the side of his face, his knuckles scraped raw like he'd been in a fight. His service weapon was still in his holster, badge still clipped to his belt. "Sir, I'm calling for help," I said, already dialing 911. "Stay with me." His eyes opened slightly. Blue eyes, filled with pain and something else, fear. They pushed me," he whispered, so quiet I almost missed it. "My own partner." "Don't talk," I told him. "Ambulance is coming." The 911 operator answered. I gave her the location, explained what I found, told her we needed paramedics immediately. She kept me on the line, asking questions. "Was he conscious?" "Yes." "Breathing?" "Barely." "Any visible weapons?" "Just his service pistol, still holstered." While I talked to the operator, I put pressure on the head wound with my jacket. The cop grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. "Listen to me," he said, his voice getting weaker. "They set me up. My partner, Detective Quinn Sawyer. He knows I found out. Tried to make it look like suicide. Pushed me over the railing. Thought I'd fall into the river." "Save your energy," I said. "Help is coming." "No, you don't understand." He coughed, and blood came up. Internal bleeding. This was bad. "They're dirty. The whole unit. I have proof. Evidence. They'll come after me again. They'll come after anyone who helps me." "Who's they?" I asked. "Narcotics Division. My unit. Trafficking, evidence tampering, protection money. It goes up high. Real high. Sirens in the distance." Finally, "What's your name?" I asked him. "Blake. Officer Blake Hendricks. 6 years on the force." He tried to sit up, but couldn't. "I'm not crazy. I'm not paranoid. I saw the money. I saw them move product from evidence. I recorded conversations. And when I told my partner I was going to report it, this happened." The sirens got louder. I could see the flashing lights approaching. "Blake, you're going to be okay," I said, though I wasn't sure I believed it. "You're going to tell them everything at the hospital. They'll spin it," he said. "Make me look dirty. Or crazy. Plant evidence. That's what they do." His eyes locked on mine. What's your name? Mason. Mason Cole. Mason, don't trust anyone from the force. Not tonight. Not when they question you. They'll want to know what I said. Tell them nothing. Promise me. I promise. 2 police cars pulled up first, before the ambulance. 3 officers got out, hands on their weapons until they saw me kneeling beside Blake with my hands visible. Step away from him, one of them shouted. I raised my hands, stood up slowly. I'm the one who called 911. I found him like this. They rushed over. One officer checked Blake's pulse while the other 2 surrounded me. What happened here? The older cop asked. His name tag read Ramirez. I was driving home, saw him on the side of the bridge, pulled over and called for help, I explained. He's been unconscious mostly, said something about falling. Blake's eyes met mine for just a second. A look that said, good, keep it vague. The ambulance arrived. Paramedics took over, loading Blake onto a stretcher. I watched them work, watched them lift him into the ambulance. He was still conscious, barely, when they closed the doors. Officer Ramirez pulled out a notepad. I'm going to need your full statement, Mr. Cole. Mason Cole. Okay, Mr. Cole. Walk me through everything. What time did you arrive? Did you see anyone else? Any vehicles leaving the scene? I answered every question. Told them exactly what I saw, exactly what I did. Left out everything Blake said about being pushed, about corruption, about his partner. Just like I promised. But I could tell something was off. The way Ramirez looked at me. The way the other officers whispered to each other while examining the bridge railing. The way they kept asking if I was sure I didn't see anything else. After 20 minutes of questioning, they finally let me go. Took my contact information, told me a detective would probably follow up in the next day or 2. I drove home with Blake's blood still on my hands and his warning echoing in my head. Don't trust anyone from the force. I didn't know it then, but that night on the bridge was the last normal moment of my life. Everything that came after, the threats, the lies, the betrayal, watching my daughter cry when they took me away in handcuffs. It all started because I stopped to help a dying cop who knew too much. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd just driven past. Pretended I didn't see him. Gone home. Kissed Harper goodnight. Woke up the next morning to my simple, safe life. But I didn't. I stopped. I helped. I got involved. And they made me pay for it in ways I never saw coming. The first detective showed up at my door 2 days later. I was making Harper pancakes for breakfast when the doorbell rang. 7 in the morning, too early for visitors. I looked through the peephole and saw a man in a suit holding up a badge. Mr. Cole? Detective Quinn Sawyer. I need to ask you a few questions about Tuesday night. My stomach dropped. Quinn Sawyer. The same name Blake whispered on that bridge. The partner who supposedly pushed him. I opened the door, but kept the chain lock on. Can this wait? I'm getting my daughter ready for school. It'll only take a few minutes, he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Unless you have something to hide? I let him in. What choice did I have? Detective Sawyer was tall, maybe 45, with gray streaks in his dark hair. He wore an expensive watch and shoes too nice for a cop's salary. He walked into my living room like he owned it, eyes scanning everything. Daddy, who's that? Harper called from the kitchen. Just a visitor, sweetie. Finish your breakfast. Sawyer sat down without being invited. Pulled out a small notebook. So, Mason, can I call you Mason? Sure. Mason, I've read Officer Ramirez's report from Tuesday night. You found Officer Hendricks on the Riverside Bridge around 11 p.m. That correct? Yes. What were you doing out there that late? Coming home from work. Construction job downtown. Anyone verify that? I felt my jaw tighten. My foreman. The security guard at the site. I clocked out at 10:40. And you just happened to see Blake on the bridge? I saw something on the side of the road. Pulled over to check. Found him injured. Sawyer leaned forward. Here's what I'm trying to understand. Blake was working a case that night, following a lead on a suspected drug dealer. He radioed in his position around 10:30, said he was checking something out, then went silent. Next thing we know, you're calling 911 saying you found him barely alive. I don't know anything about that. I just found him and helped. Did he say anything to you? There it was. The real question. He was barely conscious, I said carefully. Mumbled something about falling. That's it. Sawyer's eyes narrowed. Nothing else? Nothing about his case? About who hurt him? No. I called for help and waited with him until the ambulance came. You're former military, right? Marines. Yes. 2 tours. Combat experience. Medical training. Basic field medicine. Why does that matter? Just getting the full picture. Sawyer stood up, walked over to my bookshelf, touched a photo of me and Harper. Cute kid. How old? 8. Must be tough, raising her alone. Expensive too. Construction pays decent, but not great, right? My fists clenched. We do fine. I'm sure you do. He turned back to me. Here's the thing, Mason. Blake had a lot of enemies. Dangerous people. Drug dealers he put away. Gangs he investigated. If someone hurt him and you saw something, you might be in danger too. We need to know everything so we can protect you. I told you everything I know. Okay. Sawyer handed me his card. If you remember anything else, call me directly. Day or night. After he left, I locked the door and leaned against it. My hands were shaking. Harper came out of the kitchen. Was that man a policeman? Yeah, baby. Just asking questions about something I saw. He seemed mean. Kids notice things adults miss. The next day, another detective came by. Different guy, same questions. Then the day after that, Officer Ramirez showed up again. They were trying to catch me in a lie, looking for any change in my story. Harper started having nightmares. She'd wake up crying, asking why police kept coming to our house, asking if I was in trouble. No, sweetie, I'd tell her. I helped someone. They just want to make sure I told them everything. But I was lying. I was in trouble. I just didn't know how deep yet. On Saturday, 5 days after I found Blake, I took Harper to her soccer game. Sat in the bleachers with the other parents, tried to feel normal. But I noticed a dark sedan parked across the street. 2 men inside, watching, not even trying to hide. After the game, I drove home taking a different route. The sedan followed us for 3 blocks before turning off. Someone was watching my house. That night, after Harper went to bed, I found a note tucked under my windshield wiper. Plain white paper, printed in block letters. Mind your business or lose everything, no signature. No explanation needed. I sat in my truck, reading it over and over. Blake was right. They were coming after anyone connected to him. And now that included me. I went inside, locked every door, checked every window. Then I called my ex-Marine buddy, Dominic, who lived 2 towns over. Dom, I need a favor. Can Harper stay with you and Elena for a few days? What's going on, Mason? I can't explain right now, but I need her somewhere safe. Just for a little while. Brother, you're scaring me. Please. I'll explain everything soon. I just need to know she's protected. Dominic was quiet for a moment. Bring her over tomorrow. She can stay as long as you need. That night, I barely slept. Kept getting up to check on Harper, to look out the windows, to make sure no one was breaking in. On Sunday morning, I packed Harper a bag. Told her she was going to have a fun sleepover at Uncle Dom's house while I dealt with some work stuff. But I have school, she said. Uncle Dom will take you. It's only for a few days. Are you in trouble? Her eyes filled with tears. Because of the policeman? I knelt down, held her face in my hands. No, baby. I promise. I just need you safe while I handle some grown-up stuff. I don't want to go. I know. But I need you to be brave for me. Can you do that? She nodded, but tears ran down her cheeks. Dropping her off at Dominic's was the hardest thing I'd done since burying my wife. Harper held on to me tight, wouldn't let go. I love you, I whispered. More than anything in this world. On the drive home, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice, disguised, maybe through a voice changer. You should have kept driving, Mason. Now you're part of this. And we don't leave loose ends. Click. I pulled over, heart racing. They knew my name. They knew my number. They knew everything. I thought about Blake's words on that bridge. About corruption going up high. About evidence and recordings. About his own partner trying to kill him. And I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just a witness anymore. I was a target. The hospital called me 3 days later. Mr. Cole, this is Pittsburgh General. Officer Blake Hendricks is awake and asking for you specifically. I almost dropped the phone. He's awake. Yes, sir. He's been conscious for about 6 hours. He's insisting on speaking with you. Are you available to come in? I was at the hospital within 30 minutes. Blake was in a private room on the 4th floor, 2 uniformed officers standing guard outside his door. They checked my ID, searched my bag, patted me down before letting me enter. Blake looked terrible. His head was wrapped in bandages, face swollen and bruised purple and yellow. His right arm was in a cast, suspended in a sling. Monitors beeped steadily beside his bed, but his eyes were clear, alert, and the moment he saw me, relief washed over his face. Mason, he said, voice rough. You came. Of course. I pulled a chair close to his bed. How are you feeling? Like I got thrown off a bridge. He tried to smile, but winced. 3 cracked ribs, fractured skull, broken arm, internal bleeding. Doctors say I'm lucky to be alive. What do you remember? Blake glanced at the door, then lowered his voice. Everything. Quinn and I were supposed to be checking on an informant, but he drove us to the bridge instead. Said he needed to talk privately. Soon as we got out of the car, 2 other guys showed up. They beat me, took my phone, threw me over the railing. Thought the fall would kill me. But you grabbed onto something. Concrete ledge about 10 feet down. Held on until I couldn't anymore. Then dropped onto the walkway instead of into the water. Passed out from the pain. His eyes met mine. If you hadn't stopped, you'd be dead. Yeah. He swallowed hard. The officers outside, they're not here to protect me. They're here to watch me. Make sure I don't talk to the wrong people. Then why did they let me in? Because I told the doctors I needed to thank the man who saved my life. They couldn't refuse that without looking suspicious. Blake shifted in the bed, wincing again. Mason, I need your help. Blake, I've got a daughter. These people already threatened me. I can't, I know. I'm sorry. I never meant to drag you into this. He looked broken. But you're already in it. They know you helped me. They know we talked on that bridge. And they're going to assume I told you everything. My chest tightened. So what do? Blake reached under his pillow with his good hand and pulled out a small USB drive. 3 weeks before they tried to kill me, I started copying files. Photos of cash exchanges, recorded conversations, surveillance footage of evidence room tampering. It's all on here. Why are you giving it to me? Because they're watching me too close. They'll search my room, my locker, my apartment. But they don't know about you yet. Not really. You're just the good guy who found me. He pressed the drive into my hand. Hide this. Keep it safe. If something happens to me, if I disappear or turn up dead, get this to the FBI. Not local police. Federal agents only. I stared at the tiny drive. This small piece of plastic could destroy careers, send cops to prison, maybe even get me killed. How deep does this go? Narcotics unit, evidence room supervisor, at least 2 detectives, and Captain Victor Reeves. He's running the whole operation, using the police department as cover to move drugs through the city. Blake's voice dropped to a whisper. We're talking millions of dollars, Mason. Cartels, dirty money, the whole thing. And they'll kill anyone who threatens it. Why not just give this to Internal Affairs yourself? I tried. Filed a complaint 2 months ago. Nothing happened. That's when I knew IA was compromised too. He grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. You're the only person I can trust right now. Please. I looked at this broken cop, beaten and betrayed by the people he worked with, asking me to risk everything. I have a daughter, I said again. I know. That's why I'm begging you. Because I've seen what these people do to families. To innocent people. Someone has to stop them. I closed my fist around the USB drive. Okay. I'll keep it safe. Relief flooded Blake's face. Thank you. And Mason? Don't tell anyone you have it. Not your friends, not your family. No one. What about you? What's your next move? I'm stuck here for at least another week. After that, medical leave. I'll lay low, pretend I don't remember details from the attack. Make them think the head injury scrambled my memory. He laid his head back on the pillow, exhausted. Just be careful. Watch your back. They're already suspicious of you. I stood to leave. Blake, why are you doing this? Why not just quit, move away, forget the whole thing? He stared at the ceiling for a long moment. Because I became a cop to help people, to protect them. And somewhere along the way, the people I trusted most became the monsters. I can't let that go, even if it kills me. I left the hospital with the USB drive burning a hole in my pocket and 2 cops watching me walk to my car. That night, I hid the drive inside Harper's stuffed horse, the one she'd had since she was a baby. Sewed it into the seam where no one would think to look. Then I sat in her empty room and realized something terrifying. I wasn't just protecting evidence anymore. I was protecting the truth that could bring down an entire police department. And they would do anything to keep that truth buried. I came home from work on Thursday to find my front door unlocked. I knew I'd locked it that morning. I always did. Checked it twice before leaving, especially since Harper was staying with Dominic. I stood on my porch, heart pounding. Should I call the cops? The same cops who might be inside right now searching for Blake's evidence? I pushed the door open slowly. Hello. Silence. The living room looked normal at first glance. TV still on the wall, laptop still on the coffee table. But then I noticed the small things. Couch cushions slightly off-center. Kitchen drawers not fully closed. The closet door open when I always kept it shut. Someone had been through my entire house. I checked every room. Nothing missing. Nothing broken. But everything had been touched, moved, searched. They were looking for something specific. The USB drive. My blood ran cold. I ran to Harper's room, grabbed her stuffed horse from the bed, felt along the seam. Still there. They hadn't found it. But they'd been inside my house. While I was at work, going through my things, my daughter's things, looking for any evidence Blake might have passed to me. I called Dominic immediately. Is Harper okay? Yeah, man. She's fine. Playing with Elena in the backyard. What? Someone broke into my house. What? Did you call the police? I can't. It's complicated. Mason, what the hell is going on? I'll explain when I can. Just promise me you'll keep Harper there. Don't let her come home until I say it's safe. You're scaring me, brother. I'm scared too. That night, I slept with a baseball bat next to my bed and my phone in my hand. Every sound made me jump. Every car passing outside made me check the windows. The next morning, I drove to work exhausted. The construction site was busy, guys yelling orders, machines running. Normal. Safe. During lunch break, I sat in my truck and finally looked at what was on Blake's USB drive. I brought my laptop, connected the drive, opened the files. What I saw made my stomach turn. Photos of Detective Sawyer meeting with known drug dealers. Video footage of officers removing evidence bags from the police storage room. Audio recordings of Captain Reeves discussing payment schedules and delivery routes. Spreadsheets tracking money, weights, locations. Blake wasn't exaggerating. This was organized crime with badges. One video showed Sawyer and another detective I didn't recognize counting stacks of cash in what looked like a warehouse. $50,000 at least, maybe more. They were laughing, joking about a bust they'd just made where they kept half the drugs for resale. Another recording caught Captain Reeves on the phone. I don't care what it takes. Blake knows too much. Handle it permanently. I closed the laptop, feeling sick. These weren't just corrupt cops taking bribes. They were running a criminal operation, and they'd already tried to murder one of their own. And now they thought I might have proof. When I got home that evening, I found my truck's brake line had been cut. Didn't discover it until I was halfway down my street, and the pedal went straight to the floor. I barely managed to stop using the emergency brake, heart hammering in my chest. If I'd been going highway speed, I'd be dead. I left my truck where it stopped and walked home. Called a tow service, told them it was brake failure. The mechanic who looked at it later said the line was sliced clean through. No way it was an accident. They were done with warnings. Saturday morning, I got another message. This time slipped under my door while I slept. Last chance. Give back what isn't yours, or we take what you love most. What I love most. Harper. My hands shook as I read it. They were threatening my daughter now. My 8-year-old little girl who had nothing to do with any of this. I called Blake from a burner phone I'd bought. They know I have something. They broke into my house. Cut my brake line. Now they're threatening my daughter. Move her somewhere else, Blake said immediately. Somewhere they can't find her. She's already hidden with my buddy Dominic. Not good enough. They'll find out. Police have access to all your records, phone contacts, everything. He paused. Mason, I'm sorry. I never should have involved you. Too late for that. What do? We need help. Real help. Federal help. But I need more evidence first. Something they can't deny or cover up. Something that forces the FBI to act immediately. Like what? I'm working on it. Give me a few more days. Just keep that drive hidden and keep your daughter safe. Can you do that? I thought about Harper's smile. Her laugh. The way she hugged me before bed every night. Yeah, I said. I can do that. But even as I said it, I wondered how long I could keep this up. How long before they found the evidence? How long before they found Harper? How long before someone else got hurt because I decided to help a dying cop on a bridge? Blake got released from the hospital on Monday morning. He called me from another burner phone an hour later. I'm out. They assigned me medical leave for 6 weeks, but I know they're watching my apartment. I can't go home. Where are you now? Motel outside the city. Paid cash. Used a fake name. Mason, we need to meet. There's something on that drive I need to show you. Something I found right before they tried to kill me. We met at a diner 30 miles from town. Middle of nowhere, half empty. Blake walked in wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses, moving slow because of his ribs. He looked over his shoulder 3 times before sitting down. You weren't followed? He asked. No. I checked the whole way. He pulled out a laptop, kept his voice low. I've been going through the files again in my head. There's a folder labeled Shipment Schedule. Did you see it? I saw a lot of folders. Didn't open everything. Blake opened the laptop, pulled up the drive I'd copied to a cloud account only we could access. He clicked through folders until he found what he wanted. A spreadsheet with dates, times, and locations. Look at this. Every 2 weeks, there's a delivery. Always on a Friday night. Always to the same warehouse on Porter Street. That's where they store everything before distribution. So the next delivery is this Friday. 3 days from now. Blake's eyes were intense. If we can get photos, video evidence of the actual exchange, the FBI will have no choice but to act. They can't ignore cops caught in the act of receiving drugs. You want us to spy on armed, corrupt cops doing a drug deal? I want us to get the proof that ends this. He leaned forward. Mason, I know what I'm asking. But this is our only shot. Once they realize their operation is exposed, they'll destroy everything and disappear. We need to catch them before that happens. I thought about Harper, about the threats, about my cut brake line. I have military training, I said slowly. Surveillance, reconnaissance. I know how to stay hidden and document targets. Exactly. That's why we can do this. If we get caught, we won't. I know their patterns, their blind spots. We get in, get the footage, get out. Then we hand everything to the FBI and let them handle it. I wanted to say no. Wanted to walk away from this whole mess. But I knew Blake was right. These people weren't going to stop. Not until they were behind bars, or I was dead. Okay, I said. I'm in. We spent the next 2 days planning. Blake knew the warehouse layout, the security cameras, the usual number of people involved. I had the gear from my Marine days, night vision equipment, a good camera with a zoom lens. Blake opened up more as we worked together. Told me about his dad, a cop who died in the line of duty when Blake was 16. How that inspired him to join the force. How proud he'd been when he made detective. And then I realized my heroes were criminals, he said quietly. The guys I looked up to, trained with, trusted with my life, they were everything my dad stood against. Why didn't you just quit? Because my dad taught me you don't run from fights. You finish them. He looked at me. What about you? Why did you stop that night? Most people would have kept driving. I thought about my wife, about her last days in the hospital. My wife, before she died, made me promise something. She said the world needs good men who do the right thing even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. I guess I couldn't drive past you because I'd be breaking that promise. She sounds like she was special. She was. We also went through more of the evidence together. Blake explained the players, the hierarchy, how deep the corruption went. The evidence room supervisor, a guy named Grant Mercado, was the key. He controlled what evidence disappeared, what cases got dropped, what got reported. Grant's untouchable because he has dirt on everyone, Blake explained. Been there 20 years. Knows where all the bodies are buried, literally and figuratively. And Captain Reeves? He's the mastermind. Former narcotics detective himself, knows how the cartels operate. When he made captain 3 years ago, he started recruiting. Brought in Sawyer, then others. Built a whole network inside the department. I looked at the files, the photos, the evidence of betrayal at every level. How many good cops are left? More than you'd think. Most of the force is clean, but the corrupt ones are in key positions. They control investigations, evidence, information. The good cops don't even know what's happening. On Thursday night, we did a test run. Drove past the warehouse, checked sight lines, timed patrol routes. The place was industrial, surrounded by other warehouses and empty lots. Perfect for illegal activity. Tomorrow night, Blake said as we drove back. We end this. What happens after? Even if we get the footage, even if the FBI arrests them, you know there'll be retaliation. I know. That's why I'm not going back to my old life. After this, I disappear. New city, new name, new start. What about your career? Your pension? What career? They tried to kill me. Mason. Even if everyone gets arrested, I can't stay in law enforcement. The trust is gone. He stared out the window. Maybe it's time for something different anyway. I dropped Blake at his motel and drove home. The house still felt violated after the break-in. I checked the locks, checked the windows, checked Harper's room where the stuffed horse sat on her bed. My phone buzzed. Text from Dominic. Harper's asking when she can come home. What do I tell her? I typed back. Soon. Just a few more days. Tell her I love her. Friday would change everything. Either we'd get the evidence to bring down a corrupt police unit, or we'd end up like Blake, beaten and left for dead. I didn't sleep that night. Just laid in bed, thinking about my daughter, about my wife's promise, about the choice I made on that bridge. Sometimes doing the right thing costs everything. I just hoped I'd live long enough to see it through. Friday started like any normal day. I went to work, acted normal, told my foreman I had a family thing that evening. Left the site at 5, grabbed dinner, went home. At 8 p.m., Blake texted, "Ready?" I texted back, "Ready." We met 2 blocks from the warehouse at 9. Blake brought binoculars. I had my camera and night vision scope. The delivery was scheduled for 10:30 according to the files. We found our position on the roof of an abandoned factory across the street. Perfect view of the warehouse loading dock. Close enough to get clear photos, but far enough to stay hidden. Now we wait, Blake whispered. At 10:15, the first car arrived. A black SUV, windows tinted. 2 men got out, both wearing casual clothes. One of them was Detective Sawyer. "There's Quinn," Blake said, voice tight with anger. At 10:25, a delivery truck pulled up to the loading dock. Plain white, no markings. The driver got out, opened the back. I could see stacks of boxes inside. I started taking photos. Click, click, click. Every face, every movement, every detail. Captain Reeves arrived at 10:30 in an unmarked police car. He walked up to Sawyer, shook hands like they were old friends. Then Grant Mercado, the evidence room supervisor, pulled up in his personal vehicle. "That's everyone," Blake whispered. "The whole crew." They unloaded the boxes together, moving them inside the warehouse. I captured everything. Reeves directing, Sawyer carrying, Mercado checking lists on a clipboard. This was it. Proof. Undeniable evidence of police officers receiving drug shipments. Then my phone rang. The sound shattered the silence. I'd forgotten to silence it. Every head down below turned toward our position. "Run!" Blake shouted. We scrambled off the roof, down the fire escape. I heard shouting behind us, footsteps pounding. Stop! Police! We hit the street running. Blake was slower because of his injuries, clutching his ribs. I grabbed his arm, pulled him forward. Gunshots. Bullets hit the pavement behind us, sparking off metal. They were shooting at us. Cops were shooting at us. We made it to my truck, threw ourselves inside. I floored it, tires screaming. In the rearview mirror, I saw Sawyer and another man running to their SUV. They're following us. Blake yelled. I took a hard left, then another right, trying to lose them in the industrial district. But they stayed on us, getting closer. Mason, your house. I know. They'd follow us straight there. Straight to where Harper's stuffed horse held the USB drive. I made a split-second decision. Instead of going home, I drove toward the police station. Toward witnesses, cameras, public spaces where they couldn't just kill us. But my phone rang again. This time I answered. Mason Cole. A woman's voice. Official. Cold. Who is this? This is Officer Natalie Pierce. We have a situation at your residence. You need to come home immediately. My blood turned to ice. What situation? There's been an incident. Your daughter. What about my daughter? She's not even there. Sir, we have paramedics on scene. You need to come now. I looked at Blake. His face was white. It was a trap. It had to be. Harper was safe with Dominic. But they were using her to bait me home. Mason, don't, Blake said. It's fake. They're trying to. But what if it wasn't? What if they'd found Dominic? What if something happened to Harper? I turned the truck around, headed toward my house. The SUV behind us stopped following. They knew where I was going. I called Dominic frantically. No answer. Called again. Nothing. Please let her be okay, I whispered. Please. When I got to my street, there were police cars everywhere. Lights flashing, officers standing around. An ambulance in my driveway. I jumped out of the truck and ran toward my house. An officer stopped me. Sir, you can't. That's my house. Where's my daughter? Mr. Cole. Detective Sawyer stepped out of my front door. We need to talk. Where is Harper? Your daughter's fine. She's with family, we confirmed. But we have a serious problem here. He gestured to the house. We received a tip about illegal substances on your property. We obtained a warrant and conducted a search. What? We found 50 pounds of cocaine and 3 illegal firearms in your garage, Mr. Cole, hidden in boxes behind your tools. My world stopped. That's impossible. I don't have any. Save it. Sawyer pulled out handcuffs. Mason Cole, you're under arrest for possession with intent to distribute an illegal weapons possession. This is a setup. You planted that stuff. Officers witnessed the discovery. Everything was photographed and documented. You have the right to remain silent. Blake, tell them. I looked around for Blake, but he'd stayed in the truck. Smart. If they arrested him too, no one would be left to expose them. Sawyer cuffed me, reading my rights while I struggled. You're making a mistake. I'm being framed. They loaded me into a police car. Through the window, I watched officers carry boxes of drugs and weapons from my garage. Evidence I'd never seen before. Evidence they'd planted while I was at the warehouse. I'd walked right into their trap. They'd distracted me with the warehouse, got me away from home, then planted evidence and called it in. Now I was being arrested for crimes I didn't commit, and the real evidence against them was still hidden in Harper's stuffed horse inside my house, where they'd probably find it within the hour. As the car pulled away, I saw Sawyer on his phone, smiling. He'd won. They'd destroyed my credibility, made me look like a criminal, and now no one would believe anything I said. Blake was right. They didn't leave loose ends. And I'd just become the biggest loose end of all. The county jail was exactly as terrible as you'd imagine. Cold concrete, metal bars, the smell of sweat and fear. They processed me like cattle, took my clothes, my wallet, my wedding ring. Please, I begged the booking officer. I need to call my daughter. She's only 8. She'll be scared. You get one phone call. Make it count. I called Dominic. He answered on the first ring. Mason? What the hell is happening? It's all over the news. They're saying you had drugs, that you're a dealer. It's all lies, Dom. They planted everything. Is Harper okay? She's here. She's safe. But she saw the news. Mason. She's crying, asking why her daddy's on TV in handcuffs. I closed my eyes, fighting tears. Don't let her watch anymore. Tell her. Tell her I didn't do anything wrong. Tell her I love her more than anything. Brother, what do you need? A lawyer? Money. Just keep Harper safe. Don't let anyone from the police near her. Promise me. I promise. We'll figure this out. They put me in a cell with 3 other men. One was asleep in the corner. Another sat on the floor, staring at nothing. The third looked me over with cold eyes. What you in for? He asked. Something I didn't do. He laughed. Everyone in here says that. That first night was the longest of my life. I laid on a thin mattress that smelled like mold, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Harper's face when she saw me arrested on TV. My court-appointed lawyer showed up the next morning. Young guy, maybe 26, carrying a worn briefcase. He sat across from me in the interview room and opened a file. Mr. Cole, I'm attorney Tristan Hayes. I've been assigned to your case. He flipped through papers. I'm going to be honest with you. This looks bad. They found 50 pounds of cocaine and 3 unregistered firearms in your garage. That's federal-level charges. I was framed. Corrupt cops planted that evidence. He wrote something down, but didn't look convinced. Do you have proof of that? Yes. There's a USB drive hidden in my daughter's stuffed horse at my house. It has evidence of police corruption, drug trafficking, everything. Where is this house now? Police probably still have it as a crime scene. Tristan shook his head. Then that evidence is gone. If it ever existed, they found it and destroyed it by now. What about Blake Hendricks? Officer Hendricks? He can testify. He knows everything. The cop you found on the bridge? Tristan checked his notes. According to reports, Officer Hendricks is on medical leave and unavailable for comment. His doctors say his head injury has affected his memory of events. They'd gotten to Blake. Or threatened him. Or worse. I'm being set up, I said desperately. You have to believe me. Mr. Cole, my job isn't to believe you. It's to defend you. And right now, the evidence against you is overwhelming. Your bail hearing is tomorrow. I'll do my best, but with charges this serious, you're looking at high bail or no bail. He left. I went back to my cell feeling more hopeless than ever. That afternoon, a guard came by. Older guy, gray hair, hard eyes. Cole, right? The drug dealer. I'm not a dealer. Sure you're not. He leaned against the bars. Word of advice. Watch your back in here. A lot of people don't like cops, or people who snitch on cops. Heard you were cooperating with an investigation before your arrest. That true. My stomach dropped. They were sending a message even in here. I don't know what you're talking about. Course you don't. He walked away whistling. 2 hours later, during rec time in the common area, 3 inmates surrounded me. Big guys, covered in tattoos. You're Mason, right? The leader said. We heard about you. I don't want trouble. Too bad. He shoved me against the wall. Someone paid good money to make sure you learn to keep your mouth shut. They beat me. Not enough to kill, just enough to hurt. Ribs, stomach, face. I tried to fight back, but it was 3 against 1. Guards didn't come until they were done. They threw me back in my cell, bleeding and bruised. The other inmates didn't say a word. Just watched. I laid on my bunk, tasting blood, wondering how my life fell apart so completely in just 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I was making pancakes for Harper, going to work, living my quiet life. Now I was in jail, beaten, facing 15 years or more, and my daughter thought her father was a criminal. That night, a new cellmate was brought in. Older man, maybe 50, with a weathered face and tired eyes. He sat on the bunk across from me. You look like hell, he said. Feel worse. First time in. Yeah. Let me guess. Planted evidence? Corrupt cops? Story as old as time. He extended his hand. Name's Julian. Former police detective, believe it or not. I shook his hand carefully. Mason, I know who you are. Everyone in here knows. Word travels fast. Julian leaned back against the wall. I was in your position once. 10 years ago. Found out my captain was running drugs through evidence. Tried to report it. Next thing I knew, I was arrested for assault on a suspect, evidence tampering, the whole package. What happened? I fought it for 2 years. Lost my house, my family, my career. Eventually took a plea deal. Did 6 years, got out last month. Violated parole 2 weeks later, back in for another 18 months. So there's no way out. I didn't say that. Julian studied me. I said I lost. But I gave up. Stopped fighting. You don't look like someone who gives up easy. I have a daughter. 8 years old. She needs me. Then you fight. You fight harder than you've ever fought in your life. You don't let them win. He pointed at my bruised face. Those guys who jumped you? They'll try again. You need allies in here. How do I do that? You prove you're not soft. Next time someone comes at you, you hit back twice as hard. Respect is everything in here. Over the next few days, Julian taught me how to survive, who to avoid, who to befriend, how to move in the yard without painting a target on my back. My bail hearing came and went. The judge denied bail, said I was a flight risk and a danger to the community. I saw Detective Sawyer in the courtroom, smiling. But I also saw something that gave me hope. Blake was there, in the back row. He caught my eye for just a second and nodded. He was still fighting, which meant I couldn't give up either. 3 weeks in jail changes a man. Makes you harder, smarter, more patient. I'd been beaten twice more. Each time I fought back like Julian taught me. Word got around. People started leaving me alone. But the worst part wasn't the violence. It was visiting day when Harper came with Dominic and Elena. Seeing her little face pressed against the glass, tears streaming down her cheeks, asking why I couldn't come home. I'm fighting to get back to you, baby, I told her through the phone. I promise. But you didn't do anything bad, right, Daddy? No, sweetheart. I didn't. Then why won't they let you go? I had no answer that would make sense to an 8-year-old. After she left, I went back to my cell and cried for the first time since my arrest. Julian didn't say anything, just sat quietly while I broke down. Then everything changed. A federal agent came to the jail on a Tuesday morning. Special Agent Logan Pierce, FBI. He sat across from me in the interview room, placed a folder on the table. Mr. Cole, I'm investigating allegations of corruption within the city police department. I understand you may have information relevant to my case. Who told you that? Officer Blake Hendricks came to our field office last week. He provided substantial evidence of drug trafficking, evidence tampering, and attempted murder involving multiple officers. Hope surged through me. Blake's alive. Very much so. And very determined to see justice done. Agent Pierce opened the folder. He mentioned you were holding additional evidence. A USB drive with files he'd collected. It was hidden in my daughter's stuffed horse at my house. But the cops searched my place when they arrested me. They probably found it. They did find it. And they destroyed it, thinking they'd eliminated all copies. Pierce smiled slightly. What they didn't know is that Blake uploaded everything to a secure cloud server before giving you that drive. We have every file, every photo, every recording. I couldn't believe it. So you know I was framed? We know a lot of things, Mr. Cole. We know Detective Sawyer and Captain Reeves planted drugs in your garage. We know they falsified the warrant. We know they've been running a drug operation for 3 years. He leaned forward. What we need now is your testimony. Everything you saw, everything Blake told you, everything that happened the night you found him. Today, we're building a federal case. Multiple counts of racketeering, drug trafficking, corruption, attempted murder. But we need witnesses. People willing to stand up in court and tell the truth. Will my charges be dropped? We're working with the district attorney's office. Given the circumstances and evidence of tampering, yes. You'll be released pending a full review of your case. Pierce stood up. There's a condition, though. You'll need to testify when this goes to trial. These are dangerous people, Mr. Cole. They've already tried to kill Blake once. Are you willing to take that risk? I thought about Harper, about going home to her, about teaching her that standing up for what's right matters, even when it's hard. Yes, I said. I'll testify. Within 6 hours, a federal judge ordered my immediate release. The charges against me were suspended pending investigation into police misconduct. I walked out of county jail into the afternoon sun, free for the first time in 3 weeks. Blake was waiting outside in an unmarked car. "Get in," he said. "We need to talk." We drove to a safe house the FBI had set up. Blake explained everything while we drove. "The day after they arrested you, I went straight to the FBI with everything. Took them a week to verify the evidence, get warrants, build the case. They raided the police station yesterday morning. Arrested 7 officers, including Sawyer and Reeves. Seized the evidence room, found years of tampered cases." "What about Grant, the evidence supervisor?" "He flipped. Soon as the FBI showed up, he started talking. Gave them names, dates, amounts. He's testifying against everyone in exchange for a reduced sentence." "And the warehouse? The delivery we saw?" "FBI was already watching it based on my evidence. They have their own footage from that night. Multiple arrests made." Blake looked tired but satisfied. "It's over, Mason. They're done." "What happens now?" "Federal prosecutors are preparing cases. Trial set for next month. They'll call both of us to testify. After that," he shrugged, "we rebuild our lives, I guess." The FBI set me up in protective custody until the trial. Dominic brought Harper to the safe house the next day. She ran into my arms and held on tight. "Daddy, you're home." "I'm home, baby. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. The nice FBI lady said you're a hero. She said you helped catch bad guys." I looked at Agent Pierce, who smiled from across the room. "Something like that," I said, hugging my daughter closer. Over the next 2 weeks, federal prosecutors took my deposition. Hours of questions, going through every detail. Blake gave his testimony too. Grant Mercado confirmed everything from the inside. The evidence was overwhelming. Recordings, photos, financial records, witness testimony. The FBI had built an airtight case. Local news picked up the story. Headlines about corruption, betrayal, a single dad who risked everything to expose the truth. Reporters camped outside the safe house, trying to get interviews. I ignored them all. My focus was on Harper, on healing, on preparing for trial. Blake and I became close during those weeks. He'd lost his career, his identity as a cop. But he'd gained something else. Peace. Knowing he'd done the right thing. No regrets. I asked him one evening. "Not one," he said. "I became a cop to protect people. That's exactly what I did. Just not the way I expected." The trial date was set. 32 counts against 8 defendants. Federal charges that carried serious time. And Blake and I would be the star witnesses who brought them all down. The federal courthouse was packed the day trial began. Media trucks lined the streets, reporters shouting questions at everyone who walked by. This wasn't just a corruption case anymore. It was national news. I sat in the witness waiting room with Blake, both of us wearing suits the FBI had bought us. Harper was with Dominic and Elena, far away from the circus. "You ready?" Blake asked. "No, but I'm doing it anyway." Agent Pierce came in. "Mason, you're up first. Remember what we discussed. Tell the truth, stay calm, answer only what they ask. The defense lawyers will try to rattle you. Don't let them." I walked into the courtroom and my heart stopped. There they were. Detective Sawyer, Captain Reeves, Grant Mercado, and 5 other officers I recognized from Blake's files. All sitting at the defense table in suits instead of uniforms. All staring at me with hatred in their eyes. The jury sat to my right. 12 ordinary people who would decide if justice meant anything. I was sworn in and took the stand. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Attorney Brooke Hamilton, approached with a kind smile. "Mr. Cole, can you tell the jury what happened on the night of September 24th? I took a breath and told them everything. Finding Blake bleeding on the bridge. The warning he gave me. The threats that followed. The break-in, the cut brake line, the planted evidence. And why do you believe you were targeted?" Attorney Hamilton asked. "Because Officer Hendricks trusted me with evidence of corruption. And these men couldn't let that stand." Sawyer's lawyer jumped up during cross-examination. A expensive-looking guy with slicked-back hair. Mr. Cole, isn't it true you have a history of violence? 2 tours in Iraq, combat experience. I was a Marine. I served my country. And during your service, you were involved in multiple violent incidents, correct? Combat situations, yes. So violence isn't new to you. In fact, isn't it possible you attacked Officer Hendricks yourself, and this whole story is a cover-up? No, that's ridiculous. Is it? You claim these officers planted drugs in your home, yet you can't prove it. You claim corruption, yet you're the one who was arrested. Maybe you're just a drug dealer trying to blame the police for your own crimes. I gripped the armrest, forcing myself to stay calm. I'm telling the truth. The truth according to a man facing 15 years in prison. A desperate man who'll say anything to avoid jail. Objection. Attorney Hamilton stood. Argumentative and misleading. Mr. Cole's charges were dropped due to evidence of tampering. Sustained, the judge said. Move on, counselor. The defense lawyer tried for another hour to break my story. But I'd lived it. Every word was true, and the truth doesn't change under pressure. When I finally stepped down, Blake was called next. He walked to the stand with his head high, still moving carefully because of his injuries. His testimony was devastating. I joined the force to honor my father, who died protecting this city, Blake said, his voice strong. But the men at that table dishonored everything he stood for. They used their badges to commit crimes, to poison our streets, to destroy lives. And when I tried to stop them, they tried to kill me. He walked the jury through the evidence. Photos of cash exchanges. Recordings of Reeves ordering his murder. Video of Sawyer receiving drug shipments. During cross-examination, Sawyer's lawyer attacked Blake's credibility. Officer Hendricks, isn't it true you've been diagnosed with memory issues following your head injury? My memory of these events is crystal clear. But your medical records show a skull fracture from being thrown off a bridge by my partner. Everything before that moment is intact. The lawyer switched tactics. You've admitted to secretly recording your fellow officers. Isn't that a violation of their trust? They violated the public's trust. I documented crimes. Or you manufactured evidence because you were passed over for a promotion. Isn't it true Captain Reeves gave the promotion to Detective Sawyer instead of you? Blake leaned forward. I didn't need a promotion. I needed to stop criminals who happened to wear badges. The prosecution called Grant Mercado next. The evidence room supervisor looked broken, ashamed. He'd taken a plea deal and was testifying against everyone. I falsified evidence logs for 3 years, Grant admitted. Captain Reeves told me which drugs to remove from evidence, which guns to make disappear. I kept records because I was scared they'd blame me if we got caught. And what happened to the evidence you removed? Attorney Hamilton asked. Sold. Through dealers the captain had connections with. The money was split among the unit. How much money are we talking about? Over $2 million in 3 years. The courtroom erupted in whispers. The judge called for order. One of the other defendants, a detective named Ryder Walsh, suddenly stood up. I want to make a deal. His lawyer tried to quiet him, but Ryder kept talking. I'll tell you everything. It was all Reeves. He planned it all, forced us to participate. Shut up, you coward. Captain Reeves shouted. The judge banged his gavel. Order. Everyone sit down, or I'll clear this courtroom. But the damage was done. One of their own had broken, right there in front of the jury. Over the next 3 days, the prosecution presented overwhelming evidence. Financial records showing deposits matching drug sale dates. Phone records connecting the defendants. Surveillance footage from the FBI's own investigation. The defense had nothing. Their strategy fell apart after Ryder flipped. On the 4th day, closing arguments began. Attorney Hamilton stood before the jury with quiet confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is about betrayal. These men betrayed their oaths, their badges, and the people they swore to protect. They terrorized an innocent man and his daughter to cover their crimes. They tried to murder one of their own. The evidence is overwhelming. The choice is clear. Find them guilty and restore faith in justice. The defense lawyers tried to create doubt, but you could see in the jury's faces. They'd already decided. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they returned, the foreman stood. On all counts, we find the defendants guilty. Captain Reeves didn't react, just stared straight ahead. Sawyer put his head in his hands. The others looked shocked, devastated. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Captain Reeves got 35 years. Sawyer got 25. The others got between 10 and 20 years each. As they were led away in chains, Reeves looked at me one last time. Not with anger, with defeat. They'd lost everything. Career, freedom, legacy. And it all started because I stopped to help a dying cop on a bridge. 6 months after the main trial ended, I thought it was finally over. The corrupt cops were in prison, my name was cleared, and life was slowly returning to normal. Then Agent Pierce called me on a Tuesday morning. "Mason, we have a problem. We need you to come to the federal building immediately." "What's wrong?" "Captain Reeves wants to talk, and he's only willing to speak with you present." I drove to the FBI office confused and worried. Why would Reeves want to see me? They brought me to an interrogation room. Reeves sat on the other side of the glass, wearing an orange prison jumpsuit. He looked older, thinner, defeated. Agent Pierce sat beside me. He claims he has information about a bigger operation, but he refuses to talk unless you hear it directly. "Why me?" "He says you deserve to know the truth. The whole truth." They brought me into the room. Reeves looked up, and for the first time, I saw something other than arrogance in his eyes. "Regret." "Mason Cole," he said quietly. "The man who destroyed my empire by stopping to help someone. You destroyed your own empire by being a criminal." "Fair enough." Reeves leaned back. "But you don't know everything. None of you do. Not even Blake." "What are you talking about?" "The operation I was running, it wasn't my idea. I was middle management. Someone higher up the chain was calling the shots. Someone you'd never suspect." Agent Pierce leaned forward. "Who?" Reeves smiled bitterly. "Federal Judge Preston Caldwell. The same judge who denied Mason's bail. The same judge who signed off on corrupted warrants for years. He's been the mastermind all along." My blood ran cold. Judge Caldwell was one of the most respected judges in the state. 20 years on the bench, decorated career, pillar of the community. "You're lying," I said. "You're trying to make a deal by throwing accusations around." "Am I?" Reeves pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I kept insurance. Names, dates, account numbers. Judge Caldwell took 40% of everything we made. He protected us, dismissed cases, buried evidence. In return, we funneled millions through his offshore accounts." Agent Pierce took the paper. "We'll need to verify this." "You do that. Check the accounts. Follow the money. You'll find exactly what I'm telling you." Reeves looked at me. "I'm not asking for forgiveness, Mason. I did terrible things. But if I'm going down, the man who built this system is going down with me." The FBI launched an immediate investigation. Within a week, they had enough evidence to move forward. Judge Caldwell's financial records showed deposits matching the timeline Reeves provided. Phone records connected him to Captain Reeves at crucial moments. They arrested Judge Caldwell at his home on a Sunday morning. The news sent shockwaves through the legal community. A new trial was scheduled. This time, the defendant was a man who'd spent 2 decades administering justice while secretly profiting from crime. I was called to testify again. So was Blake. But the star witness was Captain Reeves himself, testifying against his former boss in exchange for a reduced sentence. The courtroom was even more packed than before. Judges, lawyers, politicians, all watching one of their own fall from grace. Reeves took the stand wearing prison clothes and handcuffs. The prosecutor, Attorney Hamilton again, walked him through years of corruption. "When did Judge Caldwell first approach you?" she asked. 7 years ago. I was a detective investigating a cartel drug operation. I brought evidence to Caldwell's courtroom for a warrant. He pulled me aside after, said he had a business opportunity, said we could make real money if we worked together." "And you agreed?" "I was going through a divorce, drowning in debt. He offered me a way out. So yes, I agreed." "What was your arrangement?" I'd seize drugs during busts, report only half to evidence, sell the rest through connections Caldwell provided. He'd make sure cases got dismissed or evidence got thrown out on technicalities. We split the profits 60-40, his favor. And when Officer Hendricks discovered this operation, Caldwell ordered me to handle it. Said Blake was a threat that needed to be eliminated. I assigned Quinn Sawyer to take care of it. Caldwell even suggested the bridge location, said it was isolated enough. Judge Caldwell's lawyer tried desperately to discredit Reeves. You're a convicted felon facing 35 years. You'd say anything to reduce your sentence. I would have said anything to protect Judge Caldwell before, Reeves shot back. But he abandoned me the moment I got arrested. Didn't return my calls, didn't help my family. So now I'm telling the truth. Blake testified next, revealing that he'd found communication records between Reeves and Caldwell in the files he'd collected. I didn't understand what they meant at the time, Blake admitted. I thought Caldwell was just a contact, maybe another corrupt judge. I didn't realize he was running everything. I testified about my bail hearing, how Judge Caldwell had looked at me with cold eyes and denied my release despite obvious evidence of tampering. He knew the charges against me were false, I said. But he denied bail anyway because I was connected to Blake. He was protecting the operation. The prosecution presented bank records showing $2 million transferred to Judge Caldwell's accounts over 6 years. Phone records showing hundreds of calls between Caldwell and Reeves. Emails discussing shipments and deliveries in obvious code. The defense had nothing. Judge Caldwell took the stand in his own defense, but his testimony was weak, contradictory. I never authorized any criminal activity, he insisted. If Captain Reeves was corrupt, I was unaware. Then how do you explain the $2 million in your offshore accounts? Attorney Hamilton asked. Investments. Legal investments. Investments that match exact dates of drug seizures? That's quite a coincidence, Your Honor. The jury deliberated for 6 hours this time, longer than before because of who the defendant was. But the evidence was just as overwhelming. Guilty on all counts. Judge Preston Caldwell, respected jurist, was convicted of racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy, and corruption. The courtroom sat in stunned silence. His sentencing was harsh. 40 years in federal prison. The judge who sentenced him, a federal appointee brought in from another state, showed no mercy. You perverted justice itself, the sentencing judge said. You betrayed every principle this court stands for. You deserve every day of this sentence. As they led Caldwell away, he looked at me briefly, not with anger, with something worse. Emptiness. Like he'd just realized everything he'd built, his entire legacy, was destroyed. All because a single dad stopped on a bridge to help a dying cop. 1 year later, life looked completely different. I stood in my backyard watching Harper play soccer with her friends, their laughter filling the warm afternoon air. She was 9 now, taller, stronger, and slowly healing from everything she'd witnessed. Dad, did you see that goal? She shouted, running over with a huge smile. I saw it, champ. Perfect kick. She hugged me tight, then ran back to her friends. These simple moments, the ones I almost lost forever, meant everything now. Blake pulled up in his truck a few minutes later. He'd become like family over the past year, stopping by most weekends to check on us. Harper called him Uncle Blake. How's my favorite witness? He said, shaking my hand. Living the dream. You. Same. Blake had started working as a consultant for the FBI, helping them investigate police corruption cases across the country. He'd found his purpose again, just in a different way. Got a letter yesterday. Captain Reeves is requesting another meeting. What does he want now? To apologize, apparently. Says he's found religion in prison, wants to make amends. Blake shrugged. I'm not going. Some things don't deserve forgiveness. Agreed. We sat on the porch, watching Harper play. A year ago, we were fighting for our lives, hiding evidence, running from corrupt cops. Now we were just 2 guys enjoying a peaceful Saturday. You ever think about what would have happened if you'd just driven past that night? Blake asked. Every day? My life would be simpler, safer. But, but I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror or teach Harper what doing the right thing really means. I took a sip of water. My wife made me promise before she died. She said the world needs good people who stand up, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. She was right. 3 months after Judge Caldwell's conviction, the city appointed a new police chief. Her first act was implementing serious reforms. Body cameras for every officer, independent oversight committees, complete evidence room restructuring. Blake helped design the new policies. They asked me to come back. Blake had told me when the offer came. New chief wants me to lead the internal affairs division. What did you say? I said no. I'm done wearing a badge. But I'll help from the outside, make sure they get it right this time. The wrongful convictions started getting overturned. Dozens of cases touched by the corrupt unit were reviewed. People who'd spent years in prison walked free because evidence had been tampered with. It was painful seeing how deep the damage went, but also hopeful watching justice finally work. My charges were officially expunged 6 months ago. The district attorney personally apologized, standing in front of news cameras admitting the department had failed me. Mr. Cole suffered tremendously because of corruption within our system, she'd said. We will spend years rebuilding the trust he and others have lost. The city also offered me compensation, a settlement for false arrest, defamation, emotional suffering. Enough money that I didn't have to work construction anymore if I didn't want to. But I kept working, kept the routine. Harper needed stability more than money. 2 months ago, the city council held a ceremony. They gave Blake and me civilian medals of valor, standing before a packed auditorium thanking us for our courage. Harper sat in the front row, wearing her best dress, beaming with pride. My dad's a hero. I heard her whisper to the girl next to her. That moment meant more than any medal ever could. Blake met someone, a teacher named Brooke who didn't care about his past, only about who he was now. They were taking it slow, but I could see the happiness returning to his eyes. She makes me feel normal again, he told me. Like I'm not just the cop who got thrown off a bridge. I'm just Blake. That's good, man. You deserve that. As the sun started setting, Harper's friends went home. She came over, grass-stained and sweaty, collapsing next to me on the porch. Dad, can I ask you something? Anything, baby. Were you scared? When all that stuff happened with the police. I thought about lying, about being the fearless hero. But she deserved the truth. Terrified. Every single day. But you did it anyway. Because some things are more important than being scared. Like protecting you. Like standing up for what's right. Like keeping the promise I made to your mom. Harper was quiet for a moment. I'm proud of you, Dad. My throat tightened. I'm proud of you too. You were so brave through everything. Uncle Blake says you saved his life. We saved each other. That night, after Harper went to bed, I sat alone in the living room looking at a photo of my wife. She'd been gone 4 years now, but I still talk to her sometimes. I kept my promise, I whispered. It almost cost me everything, but I kept it. I like to think she was proud too. Blake called the next morning. Turn on the news. I did. Breaking story. 3 more officers arrested in a neighboring county based on evidence patterns similar to our case. The FBI was expanding their investigation into police corruption across the entire state. It's spreading, Blake said. What we exposed, it opened doors. Other people are coming forward now. Other cops, other witnesses. The whole system is being cleaned out. That's what happens when one person stands up, I said. Others find their courage too. 6 months from now, Blake and I are scheduled to speak at a law enforcement conference about corruption and accountability. We never wanted to be public figures, but if our story helps prevent this from happening somewhere else, it's worth it. Harper's doing great in school. Her teacher says she's writing stories about heroes who help people. I read one last week about a girl whose dad saved a policeman and fought bad guys. She gave it to me with a note. This is about you, Daddy. You're my hero. I framed it. Hangs in my office now. Life isn't perfect. Harper still has nightmares sometimes. I still check the locks twice before bed. Blake still flinches when he sees bridges. But we're healing, moving forward, building new lives from the ashes of the old ones. And sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I drive past that bridge. The Riverside Bridge where everything started. It's been repaired now, new lights installed, fresh concrete. I park where I parked that night, stand where I found Blake dying, and remember the choice I made. Stop or keep driving. Get involved or stay safe. Risk everything or protect what I had. I made my choice, and I'd make it again. Because at the end of the day, we're defined not by what happens to us, but by what we do when everything's on the line. I stopped for a dying cop, stood up to corruption, protected the truth no matter the cost. And in doing so, I taught my daughter the most important lesson I'll ever teach her. Integrity isn't what you have when it's easy. It's what you keep when it costs you everything. Before you go, I need to ask you something important. What did you think of this story? Did it hit you the way it hit me telling it? Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. What city? What country? I love hearing from you all across the world. And here's what I really want to know. What kind of stories do you want to hear next? More betrayal stories? Family revenge? Military heroes? Cheating and justice? Tell me in the comments what type of stories you enjoy most, and I'll bring you more of exactly what you love. If this story touched you, hit that like button and subscribe for more epic thriller and revenge stories that'll keep you hooked from start to finish. We've got more incredible stories coming your way. Until next time, take care of yourselves and the people you love. See you in the next story.